Hello and welcome back to Rockanory. It is Saturday the 15th of May 2010, although it might not be by the time you're watching this, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, does it? But anyway, what does matter is that I will be reading this week from Bob Dylan's Chronicles, Volume 1, and the reason I've chosen to read some Bob Dylan to you this week is because my very dear friend Chris Wright is a huge Bob Dylan fan, and it is his birthday in a couple of days, so happy birthday, Chris, and I hope you enjoy this reading. And I'm sure you know the book very well, so you can chant along with me as I read if you like. But yeah, as always, if you don't have this book and you want to know more about it, there's a link underneath the video, and you can click on that and find it and buy it if you so wish. But without further ado, I'm going to read from the very beginning of this book, and I hope you enjoy it. Lou Levy, top man of Leeds Music Publishing Company, took me up in a taxi to the Pythian Temple on West 70th Street to show me the pocket-sized recording studio where Bill Haley and his comics had recorded Rock Around the Clock. Then down to Jack Dempsey's restaurant on 58th and Broadway, where we sat down in a red leather upholstered booth facing the front window. Lou introduced me to Jack Dempsey, the great boxer. Jack shook his fist at me. "You look too light for a heavyweight, kid. You have to put on a few pounds. You're going to have to dress a little finer, look a little sharper. Not that you'll need much in the way of clothes when in the ring. And don't be afraid of hitting somebody too hard." "He's not a boxer, Jack. He's a songwriter. We'll be publishing his songs." "Oh, yeah, well, I hope to hear some of them these days. Good luck to you, kid." Outside, the wind was blowing, straggling cloud wisps, snow whirling in the red-lanterned streets. City types scuffling around, bundled up, salesmen in rabbit fur earmuffs, hawking gimmicks, chestnut benders, steam rising out of manholes. None of it seemed important. I just signed a contract with Leeds Music giving it the right to publish my songs. Not that there was any great deal to hammer out. Hadn't written much yet. Lou had advanced me $100 against future royalties to sign the paper, and that was fine with me. John Hammond, who'd brought me to Columbia Records, had taken me over to see Lou, asked me to look after me. Hammond had only heard 2 of my original compositions, but he had a premonition that there'd be more. Back at Lou's office, I opened my guitar case, took the guitar out, and began fingering the strings. The room was cluttered, boxes of sheet music stacked up, recording dates of artists posted on bulletin boards, black lacquered discs, acetates with white labels scrambled around, signed photos of entertainers, glossy portraits, Jerry Vale, Al Martino, the Andrews sisters, Lou was married to one of them, Nat King Cole, Patti Page, the Crew Cuts. A couple of console reel-to-reel tape recorders, big dark brown wooden desk full of hodgepodge. Lou had put a microphone on the desk in front of me and plugged the cord into one of the tape recorders, all the while chomping on a big exotic stogie. "John's got high hopes for you," Lou said. John was John Hammond, the great talent scout and discoverer of monumental artists, imposing figures in the history of recorded music. Billie Holiday, Teddy Wilson, Charlie Christian, Cab Calloway, Benny Goodman, Count Basie, Lionel Hampton. Artists who'd created music that resonated through American life. He brought it all to the public eye. Hammond had even conducted the last recording sessions of Bessie Smith. He was legendary and pure American aristocracy. His mother was an original Vanderbilt, and John had been raised in the upper world in comfort and ease, but he wasn't satisfied and followed his own heart's love, music, preferably the ringing rhythm of hot jazz, spirituals and blues, which he endorsed and defended with his life. No one could block his way. He didn't have time to waste. I could hardly believe myself awake when sitting in his office. Him signing me to Columbia Records was so unbelievable. Columbia was one of the first and foremost labels in the country, and for me to even get my foot in the door was serious. For starters, folk music was considered junky, second-rate, and only released on small labels. Big-time record companies were strictly for the elite, for music that was sanitised and pasteurised. Someone like myself would never be allowed in, except under extraordinary circumstances. But John was an extraordinary man. He didn't make schoolboy records or record schoolboy artists. He had vision and foresight, had seen and heard me, felt my thoughts, and had faith in the things to come. He explained that he saw me as someone in the long line of a tradition, the tradition of blues, jazz and folk, and not as some newfangled wonderkind on the cutting edge. Not that there was any cutting edge. Things were pretty sleepy on the Americana music scene in the late 50s and early 60s. Popular radio was sort of at a standstill and filled with empty pleasantries. It was years before the Beatles, The Who or the Rolling Stones would breathe new life and excitement into it. What I was playing at the time were hard-lipped folk songs with fire and brimstone. You didn't need to take polls to know that they didn't match up with anything on the radio, didn't lend themselves to commercialism. But John told me these things weren't high on his list, and he understood all the implications of what I did. I understand sincerity, is what he said. John spoke with a rough, coarse attitude, yet had an appreciative twinkle in his eye. Recently he'd brought Pete Seeger to the label. He didn't discover Pete though. Pete had been around for years. He'd been in the popular folk group The Weavers, but had been blacklisted during the McCarthy era